Daniel Evans had learned to live quietly. He was a single father, the kind of man who never complained even when life gave him too much to carry. His mornings began with making peanut butter sandwiches, tying tiny shoelaces, and rushing his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, to school before heading to his job as an auto mechanic. He used to be a dreamer, a man who once believed in forever. But the day his wife left, taking her promises but not her daughter, Daniel had buried his hopes somewhere between the broken engines and unpaid bills. Emma was his light, his reason. And though his life had settled into a simple rhythm, he never imagined how one unexpected phone call would turn everything upside down. It happened on a Tuesday evening, when the world was just cooling down after another long day. He was washing dishes when his phone buzzed. The name on the screen made him pause. Sophie Bennett. He knew Sophie vaguely. She was a teacher at Emma's school, kind, graceful, always smiling in a way that made people feel seen. Emma adored her. Mr. Evans? Her voice came softly through the phone. I hope this isn't a bad time. Not at all, Miss Bennett. Everything okay? She hesitated. Actually, I need a favor. And it's kind of strange. That caught his attention. Go on. Sophie took a deep breath. My ex-fiancé is getting married next weekend, and I got an invitation. Daniel blinked. That sounds painful. It is, she admitted with a nervous laugh. I wasn't planning to go, but my friends think I should, just to show that I've moved on. The problem is, everyone will be there with someone, and I can't go alone. It's silly, but... She trailed off. You need a date, Daniel finished. Yes, she said quietly. A fake one, he chuckled. And you thought of me? Well, she said, her tone half embarrassed, half hopeful. Emma talks about you all the time. She says you're kind and funny and reliable, and I trust her judgment. Daniel's heart softened. He could hear how nervous she was. All right, he said finally. I'll go with you. You will? Sure, just promise there'll be cake. Her laughter, soft, genuine, filled his kitchen like music. The wedding day came faster than expected. Sophie met Daniel outside the venue, a charming countryside estate filled with flowers and too many memories. She wore a pale blue dress that made her eyes shine, though there was a flicker of pain behind them. You look beautiful, Daniel said honestly. Thank you, she whispered, blushing slightly. And you clean up nicely, Mr. Evans. They entered arm in arm, pretending to be a couple. At first, it was just small talk, polite smiles, and a few awkward encounters with old friends of hers. But as the night went on, Daniel noticed how tense she grew every time her ex, Andrew, and his new bride walked by. During dinner, she fell silent. Daniel leaned closer. You okay? She nodded, eyes glistening. It's strange, seeing him smile at her the way he used to smile at me. Daniel thought for a moment, then said softly, maybe that smile was never meant for forever. Maybe the real one, the kind that lasts, is still waiting. Sophie looked at him then, really looked, as if his words had reached a place inside her that had long been closed. The evening stretched on. The music started, laughter filled the air, and people danced. Daniel wasn't much of a dancer, but Emma had taught him enough to survive father-daughter dances in the living room. So when Sophie hesitated near the dance floor, he extended his hand. One song? Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Just one. They danced, slowly, clumsily, sincerely. For a few minutes, the world blurred around them. She forgot the weight of her past, and he forgot the loneliness that had followed him for years. When the song ended, Sophie whispered, Thank you for coming, Daniel. I couldn't have done this alone. You were never alone, he said simply. She blinked rapidly, fighting tears. Later that night, as the wedding ended and guests began to leave, Daniel walked Sophie to her car. The moon hung low, soft light spilling over her face. I owe you dinner, she said. For surviving that circus, he smiled. You don't owe me anything. You just needed someone to stand beside you. I know what that feels like. She tilted her head. You do? Yeah, he said quietly. When my wife left, I thought I'd never be enough for anyone again. But then Emma looked at me one night and said, "It's okay, Daddy. I'm your family now." And somehow, that was enough. Sophie's eyes filled. "You're a good man, Daniel." He shrugged, trying to hide his emotion, just trying to be good enough for her. They stood in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that says everything words can't. Then Sophie did something she didn't plan to. She stepped forward and hugged him. It wasn't romantic or impulsive, it was grateful, healing. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For reminding me that love doesn't always break you. Sometimes it finds you when you've stopped looking." Over the next few weeks, they started seeing each other, first for coffee, then for small walks, and eventually for dinners that turned into long conversations about life, loss, and second chances. Emma adored Sophie even more than before. The little girl would chatter endlessly, drawing pictures of the three of them together. "It's a family portrait," she'd say proudly. Daniel would laugh, embarrassed. Sophie would smile, pretending not to blush. One evening, they met at the same park where Emma often played. Sophie sat on the bench watching Emma run through the grass, her laughter echoing through the fading light. "She's wonderful," Sophie said. "She is," Daniel agreed softly. "Everything good I ever did is right there." Sophie turned to him. "You know, I used to think my life ended when Andrew left me, but maybe it just paused until I was ready to meet people who make it worth starting again." Daniel smiled. "Maybe we both just needed someone to remind us what kindness feels like." For a moment, their hands brushed, not by accident, but by something gentle and real. Emma came running toward them, holding a dandelion. "Make a wish, Daddy." He blew softly, the seeds scattering into the evening air. "What did you wish for?" Sophie asked, smiling. He looked at her and said, "Nothing. I already have everything I need." Sophie's breath caught, and her eyes shimmered in the golden light. Months passed. Seasons changed. What began as a favor at a painful wedding grew into something deep and healing. Sophie became part of their lives naturally. She helped Emma with homework, joined them for Sunday breakfasts, and brought laughter back into a house that had long been too quiet. And Daniel, once afraid to love again, found himself looking forward to each sunrise, because it meant another day with them. One rainy evening, Sophie stopped by the garage with a thermos of soup. "You work too hard," she said, setting it down. He smiled. "And you care too much." "Maybe," she said softly. "But that's not such a bad thing." Daniel looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, he didn't see a woman who'd been hurt. He saw a woman who had survived, who had chosen kindness even after heartbreak. He reached out and took her hand. "Sophie, that day at the wedding, I thought I was helping you, but the truth is you helped me. You reminded me that life still has room for love." Tears welled in her eyes. "Daniel!" Before she could finish, Emma's small voice echoed from the doorway. "Daddy, Miss Bennett, are you getting married?" They both froze, then burst into laughter. Sophie knelt down. "What makes you think that, sweetheart?" Emma shrugged, smiling. "Because you make Daddy happy again." Sophie looked at Daniel and saw the truth in his eyes. Maybe love doesn't always begin with fireworks or fate. Sometimes it starts with a broken heart, a brave favor, and a single act of kindness. And maybe, when you least expect it, life hands you not what you asked for, but exactly what you need.